Hello? This is Alex speaking. I invite you to watch and listen to a new author's story on my channel.
In the heart of Willowbrook, a picturesque town nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling river, David and Sarah lived in a charming cottage that seemed to radiate warmth and love. Their story began like a fairy tale, with stolen glances and shared laughter, as they built a life together from the ground up. David, with his rugged charm and a heart full of dreams, had always been the optimist. He worked tirelessly as a local carpenter, crafting intricate pieces of furniture that told stories of craftsmanship and dedication. Sarah, on the other hand, was an artist with a flair for capturing the beauty of everyday life in her vibrant paintings. Her studio was a sanctuary of colors and inspiration, where she poured her heart onto the canvas. Despite the struggles that every couple faced, David and Sarah had created their own cocoon of happiness within the four walls of their cozy cottage. They celebrated anniversaries with candlelit dinners, danced in the living room to no music at all, and laughed until their sides hurt over silly inside jokes. Willowbrook often marveled at their bond, wishing for a love as deep and enduring as theirs. Yet, unknown to most, a shadow had begun to creep over their happiness. Late nights at work became more frequent for Sarah, and David often found himself alone with his thoughts. The lightness that had once enveloped their home was now tainted with doubt and suspicion. Although they avoided confronting the growing rift, they could both sense the storm brewing beneath the surface. Then came that fateful morning when the sun's rays filtered through the curtains, illuminating the kitchen table where a note lay, as if left by a ghostly hand. David's trembling hands picked up the note, and as he read the words, his world shattered into a million pieces. The weight of Sarah's confession crashed down on him. She had been unfaithful and was leaving. Tears streamed down David's face as he reread the note, each word cutting deeper than the last. The walls of their once happy home seemed to close in on him, suffocating him with a mixture of betrayal and heartache. His mind raced back to the late nights he'd spent alone, the unanswered questions, the sinking feeling in his gut that he had chosen to ignore. The town of Willowbrook held its collective breath as the news spread. Gossipy whispers filled the air, but they were nothing compared to the deafening silence that engulfed David's life. He wandered through the days like a ghost, his heart heavy with the burden of a love that had unraveled before his eyes. The story of David and Sarah's once idyllic love affair was now a painful reality, but little did anyone know that this tale was far from over. It was a story of hurt, yes, but also a story of resilience, growth, and the unexpected paths that life can lead us down. The sun's gentle rays filtered through the curtains of the cottage's kitchen, casting a warm glow on the wooden countertops and the worn tiles. It was a morning that seemed like any other in Willowbrook, with birds chirping and a sense of tranquility in the air. But as David rubbed his eyes and shuffled into the kitchen in his slippers, he was met with an unexpected sight. A small, folded piece of paper lay neatly in the center of the counter. David's brow furrowed in curiosity as he reached for it, the faintest sense of unease beginning to creep over him. Unfolding the paper with trembling hands, he saw the familiar loops and curves of Sarah's handwriting. It was a sight that usually brought comfort, a connection to the woman he loved, but today it was different. His eyes scanned the words, and with each sentence, his heart seemed to thud louder and faster within his chest. The words imprinted on the page seemed to blur and warp before his eyes as he struggled to process their meaning. His mind raced, replaying the last few moments of his relationship, the cracks in their happiness that he had chosen to ignore. "David, I can't continue living this lie," the note began, the words cutting through the air like a knife. He read on, his fingers gripping the paper so tightly that the edges crinkled. "I've made a terrible mistake, and I need to find my own path. I'm leaving you." His chest tightened, a whirlwind of emotion swirling within him. Shock, disbelief, and a deep ache settled in his gut. How could this be happening? It was as if the ground had shifted beneath him, leaving him standing on unsteady footing. He closed his eyes, trying to will away the pain that threatened to overwhelm him. The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by the sound of his own uneven breaths. The note slipped from his fingers and floated gently to the counter, a stark reminder of the reality he now faced. His mind raced back to all the moments he'd shared with Sarah, the laughter, the dreams, the quiet moments of contentment. How had it all unraveled so quickly? The sun's warm embrace, which usually brought a sense of comfort, felt like a cruel irony now. As the reality of the situation sank in, David's body sagged against the counter, his fingers gripping its edge as if seeking an anchor in the storm of emotions. Tears welled up in his eyes, blurring his vision as he stared at the note that held his heartache. In that moment, the cottage felt colder, the air heavier, and the world a little darker. The sun continued to shine outside, indifferent to the heartache that had unfolded within the cottage's walls. And as David grappled with the truth that his world had been turned upside down, he knew that he was facing a crossroads. The path ahead was uncertain, daunting, but he also felt a flicker of determination deep within him. He would find a way to navigate this new chapter of his life, to heal, and eventually, to find happiness once again. The morning sunlight filtered through the window, casting a soft, golden hue across the kitchen floor as David's world crumbled around him. Tears welled up in his eyes, his vision blurred by the sting of betrayal and heartache. He sank onto one of the worn wooden chairs at the kitchen table, his legs feeling suddenly weak, as if the news had robbed him of his strength. The note lay before him, each word etched into his memory as if seared by fire. His fingers traced the edges of the paper, the texture so familiar yet now holding a weight he could hardly bear. His mind grappled to comprehend the enormity of what he had just read. The words echoed like a haunting melody, each syllable a painful note that resonated within him. As he sat there, the memories of their shared happiness played like an old film reel in his mind. The late-night conversations by the fireplace, the long walks hand in hand through Willowbrook's charming streets, and the way her laughter had filled their home with warmth. He closed his eyes, desperately holding onto those moments as if they were lifelines in the storm. But alongside the cherished memories, darker fragments surfaced. The late nights at work that had become more frequent, the secretive phone calls that had sent his instincts on high alert, and the subtle but undeniable shift in her behavior. David's mind raced through the puzzle pieces he had chosen to ignore, the signs that had been there all along, right in front of him. The truth was painful, a heavy weight that threatened to suffocate him. Sarah had been cheating on him, betraying the trust they had built over years of shared experiences and whispered dreams. The realization hit him like a tidal wave, crashing over him with the force of raw emotion. It wasn't just the infidelity that shook him. It was the fact that the life he had been built on shaky ground. Grief and anger mingled within him, creating a tempest of conflicting emotions. How could she have done this? The question echoed in his mind, a plea for answers that seemed to hang in the air, unanswered. He wished he could rewind time, go back to those moments when doubt had first crept in, and confront the truth head-on. But he had chosen to believe in their love, to trust her words, and now he felt the weight of his own vulnerability. The chair creaked softly as he leaned back, his hands covering his face as he tried to stem the tide of tears that threatened to spill over. He had built a life around their love, and now that foundation had crumbled beneath him. His heart ached, not just for the present pain, but for the future that had been stolen from them. With a heavy sigh, he folded the note and placed it back on the table, a bittersweet reminder of the turning point in his life. As he wiped his tears and steadied his breath, a sense of resolve began to bloom within him. The road ahead would be difficult, a journey through the tangled web of emotions and the process of healing. But he was determined to pick up the pieces, to find his own path, and to rebuild a life that was his own, untethered from the lies and the pain. As the days turned into weeks, David found himself caught in a whirlwind of emotions that seemed to ebb and flow like tides. Mornings were the hardest. The sun's rays that once brought him warmth now served as a cruel reminder of the love he had lost. He moved through the routines of daily life like a ghost, his eyes hollow and his shoulders slumped. His home, once filled with the shared laughter of David and Sarah, now felt emptier than ever. The echoes of their conversations seemed to reverberate through the rooms, haunting him with memories that he both cherished and resented. The note Sarah had left behind had become a silent companion, a constant reminder of the path she had chosen. Amidst the fog of grief and confusion, David's friends became a lifeline. They rallied around him with unwavering support, offering shoulders to lean on and ears to listen. They visited him with home-cooked meals that tasted like comfort, and they showed up at his doorstep just to sit in silence, allowing his pain to exist without judgment. One friend, in particular, stood out amidst the crowd. Emma, a woman with a heart as warm as her smile, had known David for years. Their friendship had weathered its own storms, and she knew him in a way that few others did. Emma had a quiet strength about her, an ability to listen without offering solutions and to provide a safe space for emotions to unfurl. Emma's visits became a regular occurrence, her presence a gentle reminder that he was not alone in his struggle. She would sit with him on the porch, gazing out at the rolling hills that had witnessed so many of their conversations over the years. They would share stories of the past, reliving moments that brought smiles to their faces even in the midst of the darkness. But Emma wasn't content with just reminiscing. She had made it her mission to help David find his way back to happiness. She gently encouraged him to take small steps towards healing: a walk in the park, a visit to the local bookstore, and even an attempt at cooking a meal. These seemingly mundane activities were monumental victories in David's journey to reclaim his life. One afternoon, as they sat together in the shade of a towering oak tree, Emma handed David a small sketchbook and a set of pencils. "Remember how you used to love drawing?" she said with a soft smile. "Maybe it's time to let those emotions find expression in a new way." David hesitated for a moment, his fingers tracing the cover of the sketchbook. But with Emma's patient encouragement, he began to put pencil to paper. The lines that emerged were hesitant at first, but as he continued to draw, he felt a cathartic release. The swirls and curves on the page seemed to mirror the whirlwind of emotions within him. Days turned into weeks, and as David poured his heart into his sketches, he felt a subtle shift within himself. The pain didn't disappear, but it began to coexist with the glimmers of hope that emerged. The support of his friends, especially Emma's steadfast presence, became the beacon guiding him through the darkness. With time, the sun's warmth once again became a source of comfort rather than a reminder of loss. And as David continued to sketch his emotions onto paper, he discovered a new path forward, one that led not just to healing, but to a rediscovery of the joy that life could offer, even in the aftermath of heartbreak. One crisp morning, with the leaves beginning to change their colors, Emma approached David with a gentle smile on her face. She held out an invitation to a local community center, where she had been volunteering for a series of workshops focused on personal growth and healing. "I thought this might be something that could help you," she said softly. David's initial reaction was one of hesitation. The idea of delving into his emotions and facing the pain head-on was daunting. But something in Emma's eyes, a mix of empathy and genuine care, convinced him to give it a try. Reluctantly, he agreed to accompany her to the workshop, unsure of what to expect but willing to take the first step toward healing. As they walked into the community center, the scent of freshly brewed coffee and the sound of soft laughter enveloped them. The atmosphere was welcoming, a safe space where people from all walks of life gathered to support each other on their respective journeys. Emma introduced David to the workshop facilitators, a group of warm-hearted individuals who exuded compassion and understanding. Over the course of several weeks, David attended sessions that gently nudged him out of his comfort zone. Each workshop was a step deeper into the labyrinth of his emotions, a journey that he embarked upon with both trepidation and a growing sense of curiosity. The participants came from diverse backgrounds, their stories interweaving like threads in a tapestry of resilience. In the sessions on self-discovery, David found himself reflecting on his own identity beyond the roles he had played in his relationship with Sarah. He explored his passions, fears, and dreams that had been pushed aside in the wake of heartbreak. The workshops provided a canvas for him to paint a new picture of who he was becoming. Emotional healing was a process that often felt like stitching together broken fragments of his heart. Guided by skilled therapists, David learned to acknowledge his pain without judgment, to sit with the discomfort, and to begin the slow journey of forgiveness, not only for Sarah, but for himself as well. The room held a palpable sense of empathy as participants shared their own stories of hurt and healing. As the workshops delved into rebuilding a life after loss, David began to see glimmers of hope amid the ruins of his past. He connected with people who had faced unimaginable challenges, loss, addiction, trauma, and had emerged stronger, their resilience a testament to the human spirit's capacity for growth. Their stories became beacons of inspiration, illuminating a path forward that was both arduous and transformative. Over time, David's reluctance transformed into a genuine eagerness to attend each session. The community center became a sanctuary where he could be vulnerable, where his pain was met with understanding and his triumphs were celebrated. Through the workshops, he not only gained tools to navigate his own healing journey but also formed connections with others who were walking similar paths. And so, within the walls of the community center, David's story of heartbreak and healing continued to unfold. The workshops became stepping stones on his path to reclaiming his sense of self, finding solace in shared experiences, and discovering that even in the midst of profound loss, there was room for growth, connection, and the kind of happiness that could emerge from the depths of pain. One evening, when the sun was painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, David found himself in the company of the small group of individuals he had come to consider his newfound friends. They had become a circle of support, a tapestry of lives woven together by the threads of vulnerability and shared experiences. The setting was a cozy living room, its walls adorned with artwork and the air filled with a sense of camaraderie. Sitting in a circle, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of candlelight, David took a deep breath. He had never been one to openly share his emotions, but the safety and acceptance of this group had emboldened him. As he began to speak, his voice quivered with a mixture of nervousness and determination. He recounted the story that had turned his world upside down, the love, the betrayal, the heartache. His words hung in the air, a raw and honest account of his journey through pain and healing. But as he spoke, he felt a shift within himself. The weight of his story became lighter as it was met with understanding nods and compassionate expressions. Each person in the circle had their own tale of struggle, and yet, in that room, the walls that separated their experiences seemed to dissolve. As David shared, he looked around at the faces of his friends. Faces that had once been strangers but now held a familiarity that transcended mere acquaintance. There was Anna, whose eyes held the depth of a survivor. Mark, whose smile concealed battles fought and won. And Lily, whose laughter belied the scars she carried. Each person had walked their own path of pain, and yet, they had come together to hold space for each other's healing. In the flickering candlelight, the room felt like a sanctuary of shared pain and shared strength. The stories that emerged were not just tales of hardship but testaments to the human capacity for resilience. The tears that fell were not tears of pity, but tears of empathy, acknowledging that pain was a common thread that wove through every life. David's story resonated with the group, igniting conversations that flowed freely, unburdened by the weight of judgment. As the evening stretched on, stories intertwined, each person finding solace in the knowledge that they were not alone in their battles. The laughter that erupted was genuine, a collective affirmation that healing was possible, even when it seemed unimaginable. As the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a canvas of starlit sky, the group sat in silence for a moment, a shared sense of connection enveloping them. In that moment, David realized that his journey had led him not only to his own healing but also to a network of individuals who had become his pillars of strength. As they prepared to part ways, the bond that had formed felt like an unspoken promise, a promise that they would continue to walk this path of healing together, supporting and uplifting each other as they navigated the complexities of life. And with that, David left the gathering with a heart that was a little lighter, a step that was a little firmer, and a smile that held the hope of a brighter tomorrow. Amidst the tapestry of newfound friendships and shared stories, David's life began to reshape itself. With each connection he forged, he found the missing pieces of his own puzzle, a mosaic of experiences that, when pieced together, formed a path towards rebuilding. One day, as he strolled through the streets of Willowbrook, he stumbled upon a small art supply store. The memories of Sarah's vibrant paintings flooded back, but instead of evoking pain, they ignited a spark within him. He stepped inside, the scent of fresh canvas and paint filling his senses like a balm. With a canvas in one hand and a set of brushes in the other, David set up a makeshift studio in the corner of his cottage. He began to paint, each stroke of color a release of emotion, a channeling of pain and hope onto the canvas. He experimented with hues that mirrored his moods, vibrant reds that expressed anger, serene blues that whispered of healing, and brilliant yellows that captured the light he was beginning to find. The act of painting became his sanctuary, a realm where he could express the chaos of his emotions without words. As he painted, he found himself shedding the weight of his past, layer by layer. The texture of the canvas beneath his fingers became a tactile connection to his feelings, a bridge between his inner turmoil and his quest for serenity. Each brushstroke was a dialogue with his own heart, a conversation that allowed him to confront his pain head-on. And with every layer of color he added, he felt a sense of transformation, a tangible manifestation of his healing journey. The hours he spent in his makeshift studio were moments of introspection, a respite from the tumultuous emotions that had once overwhelmed him. Gradually, David's art began to evolve. The colors blended with a grace that mirrored the harmony he was finding within himself. His paintings told stories of resilience, of a spirit that could rise from the ashes and reclaim its brilliance. His creations captured the essence of his journey, the pain, the hope, and the beauty that emerged from the chaos. His art not only became a therapeutic outlet but also a bridge to deeper connections. He shared his paintings with his newfound friends, inviting them into the gallery of his soul. Each stroke, each hue spoke volumes that words could not convey. And as they gazed at his creations, they found echoes of their own experiences, their own journeys. The local art scene soon took notice of David's work. He began to exhibit his paintings, sharing his story with the world in a language that transcended spoken words. His exhibitions became gatherings of healing souls, where individuals found solace and inspiration in his journey of transformation. Through his newfound passion for painting, David's life blossomed into something he could have never imagined during the darkest days of his heartbreak. His art was a testament to the power of resilience, a symbol of the beauty that could emerge from pain, and a reminder that even the most shattered of hearts could find the strength to mend and create anew. The local gallery was a bustling hub of activity, filled with the buzz of conversation and the soft hum of admiration as patrons meandered through the display of artwork. David's heart raced as he stood amidst his paintings, each canvas a testament to his journey of healing and transformation. This was a moment he had once thought unimaginable, to share his innermost emotions with the world through his art. The room was a mosaic of color and emotion, a reflection of the myriad feelings that had woven themselves into David's life. His paintings were an intricate tapestry, each one a chapter in his story of pain and renewal. The gallery's walls seemed to breathe with the soul of his work, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment mingled with vulnerability. Amidst the crowd, his eyes caught a glimpse of someone he had once held so close. Sarah stood a few feet away, her presence a jolt to his senses. She looked different. A weariness had settled in her eyes, and her posture held a fragility that spoke of the battle she, too, had faced. The emotions that surged within David were a swirling blend of surprise, curiosity, and an unexpected calm. Their eyes met, a silent conversation unfolding in the depths of their gazes. It was a moment pregnant with the weight of their shared history, the love that had once been and the pain that had followed. In that brief exchange, they acknowledged the wounds they had inflicted upon each other, the choices that had led them down divergent paths. With a courage born of shared vulnerability, Sarah approached David, her steps hesitant as if navigating uncharted territory. The room seemed to quiet around them, the clamor of conversation fading into a distant murmur. Their worlds converged, a moment suspended in time. Her voice trembled as she spoke, the words a fragile bridge between past and present. "David, I'm so sorry," she began, her gaze locked onto his. The weight of her words hung in the air, the apology a culmination of emotions that had been left unsaid for so long. "I never meant for any of this to happen. The hurt I caused. I can't take it back, but I want you to know that I'm truly sorry." David felt a rush of conflicting emotions surge within him. The pain he had carried, the anger he had harbored, all of it seemed to collide with the vulnerability in Sarah's eyes. Her apology was a window into her own journey of self-discovery, a reminder that they were both humans who had made mistakes. As he looked at her, a sense of compassion began to temper the storm of his emotions. He realized that forgiveness wasn't for her sake alone. It was a gift he could give himself, a release from the chains that had bound him to the past. With a deep breath, he spoke words that resonated with a wisdom he had acquired through his own healing. "Sarah," he said, his voice steady, "I can't change what happened, and I won't pretend that the pain wasn't real. But I've learned that holding on to anger and resentment only weighs me down. I choose to forgive you, not for your sake, but for mine. I deserve to move forward with my life." In that moment, the room seemed to exhale. The air was charged with a sense of closure, an acceptance of the past that allowed space for the present to unfold. As they stood before each other, once intertwined lives now diverged, yet connected by a shared understanding of the human capacity for growth and redemption. The gallery resumed its gentle buzz, the spell of their encounter broken as life around them continued to flow. Sarah offered a small, grateful smile before turning to leave, and David watched her go with a heart that was a little lighter, a spirit that was a little freer. In her departure, he found a new layer of closure, a sense of peace that whispered of the infinite possibilities that awaited him on the path of his own making. In the hushed aftermath of their exchange, David experienced a surprising shift within himself. Instead of the expected surge of anger or bitterness, he felt a current of compassion coursing through his veins. It was a sensation that caught him off guard, a gentle whisper from within that seemed to emerge from the very depths of his healed heart. As he gazed after Sarah's retreating figure, his thoughts were a tapestry of emotions woven with threads of introspection. The journey he had embarked upon since that fateful note had not only been one of healing but also of personal growth and self-discovery. The workshops, the shared stories, and the canvas of his art had all contributed to sculpting a version of himself that was stronger, more resilient, and remarkably understanding. He realized that he had come to comprehend the nuances of human fallibility, the intricate dance of actions and reactions that shaped lives. His own healing had brought him to a place where he could acknowledge that, despite the hurt they had caused each other, they were both products of their circumstances, their individual struggles, and their own imperfections. Forgiveness, he discovered, wasn't an act of exoneration for Sarah's choices. It was a choice he made for himself, a way of unburdening his heart from the chains of anger and resentment that had held him captive. The realization blossomed within him like a fragile flower, a tender bloom of understanding that was rooted in his own newfound sense of peace. He had learned that holding onto the weight of past grievances was like carrying an anchor, one that prevented him from moving forward and embracing the beauty that life still held. Forgiving Sarah wasn't a betrayal of his own pain. It was an affirmation of his own capacity to heal, to transform, and to find joy despite the storms he had weathered. In the midst of the gallery's vibrant artwork and murmured conversations, David made a silent promise to himself. He chose to release the last remnants of bitterness that had clung to his heart. He embraced the compassion that had taken root within him and allowed it to unfurl, a beacon of understanding that illuminated the path ahead. With a deep breath, he turned away from the space where Sarah had stood, his gaze sweeping over his own paintings and the stories they held. The paintings were a testament to his journey, a visual narrative of the pain and the triumphs that had shaped him. He felt a quiet contentment settle over him, a sense that he was no longer shackled to the past but free to embrace the future. As the gallery's lights cast a warm glow over the room, David realized that his healing journey had led him to this moment of grace. He forgave Sarah, not for her sake, but for his own peace of mind. And in doing so, he had uncovered a wisdom that transcended the pain of the past, a wisdom that whispered of the boundless capacity of the human heart to forgive, to heal, and to find serenity even in the face of turmoil. In the months that followed the unexpected encounter at the gallery, David's life continued to unfold in ways he had never imagined. The encounter with Sarah had stirred emotions within him that were a mix of surprise, compassion, and closure. As time passed, he realized that the ripples of their exchange had extended beyond that single moment. In the aftermath of their encounter, a gentle transformation began to take shape between David and Sarah. Their interactions became less marked by tension and hurt, and instead, they navigated a new path, one built on mutual respect, understanding, and the shared experience of growth. It was a journey of rebuilding, not the remnants of their old romantic relationship, but rather a foundation of friendship that was tinged with a deep history. They found themselves engaging in conversations that were both introspective and candid. They shared the lessons they had learned, the challenges they had faced, and the hopes they had for their individual futures. It was as if the passage of time had granted them a new lens through which to view each other, to see not just the pain that had torn them apart, but the growth that had emerged from the ashes. Amidst these interactions, they discovered a mutual understanding that extended beyond the surface. They had both walked paths of self-discovery, and those paths had converged in unexpected ways. The empathy they now held for each other was a testament to their shared humanity, a reminder that beneath the hurts and mistakes, they were two souls seeking healing and renewal. They made a conscious decision not to rekindle their romantic relationship. The scars of the past still lingered, and they recognized that their journey had led them down separate roads. Instead, they chose to walk alongside each other as friends, supporting and encouraging each other as they navigated their individual journeys. Their friendship was a testament to the depth of their shared history. They laughed together, reminisced about the good times, and talked about the things that had once brought them joy. But they also acknowledged the pain they had caused each other, the choices that had led them astray, and the growth that had emerged from those dark moments. Their interactions were marked by a newfound ease, a comfort that came from the shared understanding that their relationship had transformed into something different, something deeper in its own right. They had transitioned from lovers to allies, from partners to confidants, and the transition had enriched their lives in ways they hadn't anticipated. Through their friendship, David discovered the value of forgiveness in its truest sense. It wasn't just a matter of letting go of anger, but of embracing the shared humanity that connected him to Sarah. They were two individuals who had faced their own battles, and in that shared vulnerability, they found a common ground on which to rebuild. As seasons turned and time continued its steady march forward, David and Sarah's friendship flourished. Their bond served as a reminder that even in the wake of heartbreak, healing was possible, and that a relationship could evolve in unexpected ways. Theirs was a story of transformation, a narrative that spoke of the human capacity to heal, to change, and to find new forms of connection that could light the path ahead. David's story, a tale of heartbreak, healing, and transformation, began to weave itself into the fabric of Willowbrook. Like whispers carried by the wind, his journey of growth and renewal spread through the town, leaving traces of inspiration in its wake. The townspeople, touched by his resilience, found themselves reflecting on their own lives and seeking solace in the reminder that strength could emerge even from the most trying of circumstances. As the narrative of David's journey reached eager ears, it served as a catalyst for conversations that were often left unsaid. People gathered in coffee shops, on park benches, and around dinner tables, sharing their own stories of adversity and the ways in which they had found hope and light amidst the darkness. His story became a shared touchstone, a reminder that there was power in vulnerability, and that the path to healing was one that many had walked. In response to this groundswell of inspiration, the town of Willowbrook came together in a celebration that was as heartwarming as it was symbolic. The event, aptly named the Festival of Resilience, was a testament to the beauty of second chances, the strength of the human spirit, and the indomitable power of community. The festival's vibrant banners fluttered in the breeze, announcing the celebration to all who passed by. Local artists contributed paintings and sculptures that echoed themes of growth and transformation, creating an open-air gallery that invited visitors to reflect on their own journeys. The streets were alive with music, laughter, and the joyous chatter of people who had come to honor the journey of one of their own. As the sun began its descent, the townspeople gathered in the central square, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns. David stood before them, his heart swelling with gratitude for the community that had embraced him. His story, once a personal journey, had become a collective narrative of hope, and he felt humbled to be a part of something larger than himself. The festival's highlight was a series of speakers who shared their own tales of resilience. People from all walks of life took the stage, their voices ringing with authenticity as they spoke of the challenges they had faced and the ways in which they had triumphed over adversity. It was a symphony of stories that resonated with the crowd, a reminder that they were not alone in their struggles. As the evening unfolded, David's paintings were displayed on a stage, each canvas a visual testament to the journey he had undertaken. Visitors wandered among the artwork, their fingers tracing the strokes of color that captured emotions beyond words. It was a living narrative of pain and renewal, of chaos and creation, a reflection of the human capacity to turn wounds into works of art. The festival was a celebration of second chances, a tribute to the resilience that lay within every heart. People who had once been strangers found common ground, sharing smiles, laughter, and moments of connection. David's journey had created a ripple effect of positivity that transcended his own experience, uniting a town in a shared acknowledgement of the beauty that could emerge from the ashes of adversity. As the night drew to a close, a fireworks display painted the sky with bursts of color, illuminating the darkness and symbolizing the brightness that could emerge from even the darkest of moments. The cheers and applause that echoed through the town were a celebration not just of David's journey, but of the journeys that everyone present had undertaken in their own lives. The Festival of Resilience became an annual tradition, a reminder to the town of Willowbrook that in the face of challenges, there was always the potential for growth, transformation, and the rediscovery of joy. David's story had become a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the midst of pain, the human spirit could rise, phoenix-like, from the ashes and find its way to the light. As the years rolled by in Willowbrook, the culmination of David's journey emerged as a radiant dawn after a long night. What had once appeared as the darkest chapter of his life had evolved into the cornerstone of a new beginning, brimming with hope, self-discovery, and the kind of connections that illuminated even the dimmest corners of his heart. The echoes of his story still lingered in the air, carried by the town's breeze, whispered between neighbors, and etched into the hearts of those who had been touched by his resilience. His tale was no longer his alone. It had become a part of Willowbrook's collective narrative, a reminder that adversity could be met with strength, that pain could be transformed into purpose. David's journey had illuminated the truth that healing was not a linear path. It was a mosaic of moments of doubt and triumph, of sorrow and laughter, each fragment piecing together a tapestry that told the story of his growth. And within that tapestry, the threads of genuine connections were interwoven, binding him to a community that had embraced him with open arms. The relationships he had cultivated since that fateful note had blossomed into a network of friends who not only supported him but were also inspired by his journey. His art continued to be a vehicle for his emotions, an outlet through which he expressed the beauty he had found in his renewed perspective. The gallery walls were adorned with paintings that captured the spectrum of human experience, from pain to joy, from vulnerability to strength. The Festival of Resilience remained an annual tradition, growing larger with each passing year. It was a reminder to the town that there was power in sharing stories, in acknowledging vulnerability, and in celebrating the victories that emerged from life's trials. The festival had become a beacon of light, a gathering that celebrated the human spirit's ability to transform challenges into opportunities for growth. David's encounters with Sarah continued to evolve as well. Their friendship had deepened, and in the absence of romantic ties, they found a connection that was built on mutual respect, empathy, and a shared journey of healing. Their conversations were honest and free from the weight of the past, a testament to the power of forgiveness and the beauty of second chances. As the sun dipped below the horizon one tranquil evening, David stood on the porch of his cottage, the scent of blooming flowers wafting through the air. The hills that once seemed to hold only shadows now held the promise of new beginnings. The laughter of children playing in the distance echoed a sentiment he had come to embrace, that even in the face of darkness, happiness could bloom. In the end, what had seemed like the darkest moment of David's life had unfolded into a symphony of transformation. His journey was a testament to the human capacity for resilience, the profound beauty that could emerge from pain, and the genuine connections that could be forged through vulnerability. With a heart full of gratitude and a spirit ablaze with newfound purpose, David embraced the chapters yet to be written, knowing that even amidst life's trials, there was always the potential for the sunrise of a new beginning.